Film Club.
Have you seen Parasite, by the way?
No.
Oh, thank you very much for joining this episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, it's the Parasite himself, Andy Dalton.
Preordained and ready.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. And we dive into some of cinema's best before going back here to talk it out. Andy, this week we looked at Snowpiercer.
Yes, Snowpiercer by the guy who did Parasite, which is Bong, Joon-ho. I didn't know it's actually produced by the guy who did the Vengeance trilogy.
Park Chan-wook.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I saw him pop up at the beginning of the
I was
film.
like, oh shit, I recognise that. Yeah,
Yep.
Interesting. Snowpiercer is about a train. Sorry, it's about humanity has entered another winter, climate change winter thing. What's it called? Ice Age.
Another ice age, melting of the polar caps, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so it was like, but it was done by some sort of device that was trying to counter global warming. Anyway, they're on a train, the low class at the back and the upper class at the front. There's a system, they want to rebel against the system because they keep getting the children take away, and they decide to plan and fight through the train, get to the engine to control the train.
And for Bong Joon-ho, this was like his attempt at doing a...
Well, like kind of Western kind of...
Yeah, it was his attempt at doing a Hollywood like blockbuster.
2013? Yeah.
Now...
Science fiction cut, yeah.
This is I want to forewarn people about this because I've had a little bit of a strange watching experience. I think that maybe some of you out there will have had this as well, where I watched Parasite first, like about a month or two ago now.
Interesting.
And then this is my first experience watching Snowpiercer, so I've kind of gone backwards.
I've only seen this. I want to see Parasite. I want to see it before it won all the awards. A few articles, everyone's saying fucking hell, it's like the best film to come out this year. And then his other one as well. But yeah, anyway.
And the thing I want to get out of the way off the top, I'm really going to try and get away from, this isn't as good as Parasite.
I don't think, I didn't
not
expect
by a
it to
long
be.
stretch. It's totally not. Whereas Parasite was very much up like my personal alley in terms of tastes. This is kind of not in some ways, so we'll move on from that.
Mm-hmm. I said last week that it's a love-hate film. I come back and it's love-hate or okay film. I'm okay now after this watch. I think it's the third time watching it, maybe second and a half.
Can I take your analogy for a second, right? Because I totally get it. I think there are elements of this film that I love.
Yeah.
There are elements of this film that I hate.
Yeah.
And then you end up at okay.
Yeah, exactly. That is a really good explanation. I think my realization for this is like, at first I took it like, oh my God, there's just this experience come across. I loved it at the start because it's just daft. And you go across and you fight through the train, there's all this action and everything, and you have this like kind of weird kind of style, like Tilda Swinton, this is just weird but like cool weird. And then you have all these like kind of sections that go through. It shows like kind of economic class in an interesting way. It shows like the kind of these guys like mind blown by, oh yeah, they've just got like fish swimming and they've got steaks available, yeah. They've got the classroom thing that's like, Winston, yeah, like this, which is just daft, like that kind of stuff.
Isn't it Wilford?
Wilford, sorry, not Winston.
Wilford!
Winston, what's he called?
Wilson!
And then you have like the other elements as well that come in, and it's just a bit like the cool little kind of like the backstory fleshing out, the fact that resorted to cannibalism, he's like the babies taste best, it's quite grim, that scene.
Yeah.
But then like that was, that's quite cool. The end happened, I wasn't too cool with the ending. I was that was a great film. Upon watching it second time was after my dad actually watched it. My dad's an engineer. And he came back and his first thing after watching this, it's a pile of shit, Andrew. It's a pile of shit. Oh, why? What's going on? Fucking, what's it called? Perpetual motion. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. For those who don't know, perpetual motion, is that right?
Yeah, perpetual motion.
The idea that kinetic energy is recycled and causes more energy. So the train going across is the energy to drive it forwards is generated by the train moving forward. Its idea is it's like a non-existent cyclical thing because the idea is quick, energy transfer, you can't do that because the friction and stuff like that. Perpetual motion doesn't exist. So my dad kicked off and he came back to me and was like, it's blah, 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 it's shit because it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like science film, Dad.
No, I remember you
Science
saying
fiction
this
film.
about your dad kicking off
Yeah,
about
do you-
this.
yeah.
So I had it in the back of my head when I was watching it. I don't think they ever claimed that perpetual motion is how they're powering the train.
Maybe not.
I don't think they ever explain how the train's like sustained. They just kind of go, it's sustained, let's leave it at that. So I don't really have a problem with like the setup for it. I actually think the setup for it allows for an interesting idea, right? Because obviously the core of this film really is about a class war.
Yeah.
It's about a representation of like, and this is what like he would go on to do with Parasite later on. It's all about sort of the haves and the have-nots and how each side views one another.
Yep.
And then what happens to somebody if you can step over that boundary a little bit.
Yep.
And how much does somebody's morals stay intact? And
Which is great at that end scene as well. In some respects of the end scene.
because I like a lot of the setup in it, I think a lot of it, sort of like those ideas are interesting and the physical manifestation of them is really interesting.
So my issue isn't down to perpetual motion. I just need to clarify that. It was just one of the things that made me laugh going into this, thinking, so the way that he's gone about stuff, I was a bit like, I couldn't help but think about it, and whereas first time I couldn't take myself out of the equation. Anyway, one of the things I didn't like was the shaky camera movement. It reminded me too much of Quantum of Solace from the fight scenes. And it took me out of the film, and I was a bit iffy about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're referring to
It's the first part when they run through the door.
Chaos Cinema.
Yeah, Chaos Cinema. I struggled with it.
I agree. I see what you mean. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as Quantum of Solace.
Because Quantum of Solace is quick cuts as well. This wasn't necessarily quick cuts. This was just hand camera, but shaking about to the point I was a bit confused. I think I do like the fight scenes though. I think they're grim. I think they're really good. I think the perfect example of that is where they go and face the guys in the masks, and they're all a bit creepy themselves. They have the New Year thing, really cool. It helps the kind of like goofiness of the film. And then
I like their introduction.
where they're just, she's like, no, because this is the other part.
And then the door opens.
Yeah,
it's just this. Everything's in slow motion for a second. Everyone stands there for a little brief section, like eyeing each other up. And there is something very unsettling about like none of them having an identity, by all having their eyes covered.
Yeah, and then obviously like the lights go out and they've got night vision goggles. And I'm thinking, oh, fucking the odds are in their favour. Then you get the fire come through, and it almost feels like in Helm's Deep, Two Towers with York. With the it felt very much like that. And I was saying that's fucking cool. So I enjoyed that. I think the fight scenes for that particular part, take away from the camera movement, were really cool. Like the way it gets in. Also love that mid-scene decision where Curtis has to take, where the kiddo is like his second best. He's like, do I save him or do I go for the boss to like help us progress further? Like that's what a leader's got to do, and he like instills that kind of leadership in him, but at the same time like has that tragic downfall behind him.
Credit to the script for not spelling that out clearly.
He does that thing. He goes, it's on his face, and it's a sad shot, and he goes, and does it. Yeah. Pure Chris Evans, just being Chris Evans.
Credit again to the script and to the director as well for just letting the performance sit on its own, because I think overall performances are very strong in this film.
I love, on it, whilst we're on about characters, I love how we have a combination of, I assume it's South Korean director, South Korean language, and English, and you've got the subtitles of the parts, you've got the little thing that helps do it. You've got like the way that they can't talk to each other, but they can, and they understand, but they don't understand. I think it's a perfect example of being in a small, like the last of humanity in a small train. Of course, you're going to get loads of different like kind of.
One stupid minor complaint with that, doesn't really matter. They were so inconsistent about using that device.
Yeah, at the start they use it, and then towards the end they just understand each other. Yeah.
And sometimes they put the quiet translation into the mix. Sometimes they put a quiet translation into the mix, and sometimes they just don't bother.
Yeah,
it's like, oh.
Well, what's his name? We were on about Scorsese does it in Godfather, where sometimes he doesn't use the subtitles because he doesn't want you to know. So maybe it's a bit like that. Maybe he doesn't use subtitles for some reason.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Who did I say? Scorsese.
It's
because I watch Irishman lately. Yeah. Sorry,
but at least he's consistent where this whole scene is not going to have the subtitles.
Right. Okay.
And they both speak Italian. Whereas here it was like those translators were there to allow them to communicate, but they just start talking towards the end. Funny little tidbit, I watched about 90% of this film thinking it didn't have subtitles because I didn't load the subtitle folder.
You idiot, you daft.
It wasn't until that guy and his daughter have a lengthy conversation towards the end.
You're thinking I need subtitles.
Where I was like, there's something missing here.
Oh God. I particularly like the scene where they find out the insects in the protein bars.
Yeah.
It's little shit like that. It's like, Bong Joon-ho started off with a film, it's about a monster, some sort of sea monster. Let us know in the comments if I don't get it. And it was, it was cool because it was like this kind of horror that was like not your normal kind of jump scare horror like this. It was the idea of like what's it like? When you see stuff like...
like grotesque sort of.
Yeah, grotesque, but it creeps you out, and he looks inside, he has that reaction, you see Curtis looking, then you in the eyes of Curtis see what's actually they're eating. You look at them, he's like, don't say anything. You look back, everyone's like slurping it and eating it and all this. And then you obviously got Tilda Swinton's character later on, how she eats it instead of sushi. I just think it's really cool to employ that kind of grotesque kind of horror. Like that's the kind of thing that really gets me down. But yeah, it's just overall. Do you know what it is?
No, sorry. I was looking for the film, and it's either The Host.
The Host. That's it. The Host.
There you
It's
go.
like some sort of fish monster.
Well, I think we're gonna have to check that out at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know from his previous work that like he likes his idea of big fantasy. It's almost, I described actually funny enough to Natalie as it's almost like anime. Like the script.
Yeah.
The script feels like a script from anime.
But live
where
action.
It's big concept, and people sometimes talk in very strange ways, and they sometimes talk in very
Preordained.
over dramatized ways. Yeah, and there's funny little ticks like that. And the concept isn't just high fantasy; it's almost like a step above high fantasy, but then boiled right back down.
Yeah.
And I think it's here in spades with the train and the idea of the train, but like also the train kind of doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yep.
But also it's super important, and people go to this crazy degree. Like there's the drug, and people are kept in like drawers.
Yeah.
And they stick people's arms out of like
Yeah,
the train
yeah.
to smash them off and stuff.
It's very
And then the drug becomes like a bomb at the end, and like it's kind of in that way it's kind of like anime.
yeah.
But I think he manages to ground it all in something that is more palatable for the West.
I think you hit the nail on the head in your description, both at the start, how some stuff you like, some stuff you don't like, it comes together as okay, but also what you mentioned just then.
I kind of
the anime ground it down.
I kind of wish, if I'm honest, that I had seen this before watching Parasite. And
What,
a
is that
little
gonna
bit of
build
that
up?
is because they deal with similar themes,
Ooh.
but the films are so otherwise completely unalike. But I think that those themes are dealt with better in Parasite. Anyway, I said I wouldn't do that. I did it anyway. There is Snowpiercer. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Snowpiercer, or you can hit us up on Twitter as always. But Andy and I are going to be back once again,
Kind of have to.
where we have no option at this point.
I know, yeah, every Monday.
We're going to take a look at AHAI.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Apparently that's how you pronounce it.
Oh, I said Okja.
There's a good chance I just fucked that up. And you
He's-
can let me know there, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
His next film, by the way, which is why we have to do it. We also have to do Film Club.
And so do you. We'll see you guys next week. Have fun.